The silence before the roar. The snow-covered fields of the Ardennes lay unervingly still under a steel-gray December sky. Smoke curled from burned-out ruins in the distance, and a quiet, cold wind whispered through the bare trees. It was 1944, and the Battle of the Bulge had just erupted like a hornet's nest in the heart of Europe. Inside the narrow turret of an American M18 Hellcat tank destroyer, call sign Fox 7, Lieutenant Jack Miller clenched the turret ring and stared through the scope into the distant tree line. He was just 24, with boyish features hardened by 2 years of war. His crew, 5 men bound more by survival than duty, sat tensely around him. Sergeant Tom Tex Dugan, the grizzled loader, had seen more battles than birthdays in recent years. Corporal Eddie Skates Kowalski, the driver, was a motorhead from Detroit who could make a Sherman drift like a race car. The rest were young, scared, but loyal. They had orders: hold this ridge at all costs. What command hadn't told them was that the ridge, which overlooked a critical road to Bastogne, was about to become the target of a full-scale German assault. The thunder comes. The first rumble came low, like distant thunder. Then came another. Then the horizon quivered. "Contacts," Jack muttered, peering through the periscope. "A lot of them." Tex cursed under his breath as the trees split open, revealing an armored phalanx, 22 German tanks, including Panthers and Tigers, their dark hulls rumbling like iron beasts. "Jesus!" whispered Private Harris, the youngest, his hands trembling on the radio. "Shut it," Jack snapped. "We've got the higher ground, and they don't know we're here yet. We play this smart, we hit and vanish. Skates, get us into the tree line, north slope. Tex, load HVAP." Tex shoved in a high-velocity, armor-piercing round. "If we die, I want a few of those bastards with me." The tank destroyer slipped like a ghost into a hollow. Jack's heart pounded. 1 tank against 22. Impossible odds. But the Hellcat was fast, agile, and had a punch that could pierce a tiger from the side. If they stayed mobile, picked their shots. Boom. The first Panther exploded, its turret launching into the sky. Jack didn't even smile. "Move." Skates hit the gas. Fox 7 darted behind a ruined farmhouse, seconds before German shells tore the ridge to shreds. "1 down," Jack said breathlessly. 21 to go. Hunter and hunted. The Germans split into 3 armored spearheads, thinking they were facing multiple American tanks. Jack used their confusion. He picked them off one by one: ambush, fire, relocate. Boom. Another Panther lit up the trees. The crew became a machine. Tex loaded without speaking. Skates dodged between trees like the tank had wings. Jack's fingers bled from gripping the turret ring too tight, but his voice never wavered. But it couldn't last. They took a hit near dusk. A Tiger clipped the rear. Armor shrapnel ripped through the back hatch, killing their gunner, Lance Corporal Rizzo. His blood soaked the floor, and no one spoke for a minute. Jack stared at the mangled body, rage and sorrow boiling. "We finish this," he growled. That night, under cover of darkness, Jack made a decision. "We lead them to the frozen stream bed. It'll slow them down. We hit from both banks. Split their column." "You mean stay and fight?" Tex said quietly. "We run, they chase. We fight, we choose the ground. Last stand at Devil's Hollow." They lured the remaining German tanks into Devil's Hollow, a narrow, frozen ravine surrounded by steep woods. Just before dawn, the Germans entered, single file, wary now. Fox 7, hidden under pine branches and snow, waited silently. Jack whispered, "On my mark." The Tiger leading the column crept into view. The Hellcat roared, boom. Direct hit. Fire bloomed like a red flower in the snow. German tanks scattered. But there was nowhere to go. Fox 7 zipped across the ridge, firing, disappearing, reappearing like a phantom. They hit 6 more tanks in the chaos. Smoke choked the ravine. The Germans fired wildly, but Jack stayed 1 step ahead, until the Tiger II, the monster of the Reich, found them. 1 shell hit near the tread. The Hellcat flipped sideways, crashing into the ice. The crew was shaken but alive. "Jack." "We're sitting ducks," yelled Skates. Jack climbed out of the turret, exposed, and saw it, the Tiger II looming 30 yards away, its barrel swiveling. He didn't run. Instead, Jack took the tank's .50 caliber machine gun and aimed directly at the optics of the Tiger. The gun roared, blinding sparks and screeching metal. For 1 second, the Tiger hesitated. That was all they needed. Tex, injured but furious, jammed another HVAP into the cannon. Jack dropped back inside. They fired. The shot slammed into the Tiger's lower plate. Silence. Then, boom. The Tiger detonated, its ammo cooking off in a deafening explosion. Fox 7 sat still, surrounded by smoking wrecks. The battle was over. Aftermath. Reinforcements arrived at dawn. The ridge, and the road to Bastogne, was still in Allied hands. Jack stood outside Fox 7, smoking, blood on his uniform, ice in his beard. Of the 22 German tanks, 17 had been destroyed by his crew. The rest had fled. "You're insane," said a young officer from the arriving unit. "One tank." Jack didn't answer. He looked at the bullet-scarred hull of Fox 7, then down at the body bag holding Rizzo. It hadn't been about glory. It had been about not letting the line break. About fighting for each other. The ghost of Devil's Hollow. Years later, veterans would talk about the ghost tank that had held the ridge alone. A single Hellcat that destroyed a German armored spearhead and disappeared into legend. Jack Miller never boasted. He retired quietly, never seeking medals. But sometimes, when snow fell thick and the wind whispered like war, he'd look out his window and remember the day when one tank changed the course of a battle. And he'd whisper, "We held." Suspenseful. Human. Heroic. The tale of when one tank defeated 22.